Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. The Associated Press wants you to know that pro-life laws kill babies. They don't save them. As crazy as it sounds, that fits right in with the Biden administration's Restore Roe rebranding, in which it's actually pro-family to have abortions, as my producer and Phil and Riley talked about last night with the Kate Cox story. She's the one who fled Texas to have an abortion elsewhere because she didn't want to care for her disabled child. And now she got to stand alongside Kamala Harris this week to beam about her new pregnancy. How gross to publicly label one child as unwanted and the others being wanted, and then to brag about it to cameras and to applause. That's the dynamic used by this AP article in reporting that infant mortality is up by 8% in Texas as per data from 2022, after the heartbeat law came into effect the previous fall of 21, limiting abortions to about 6 weeks when the heartbeat can first be detected. The analysis the AP is reporting on was conducted by Johns Hopkins University and was published in the journal JAMA Pediatrics. It claims that infant mortality rose by 2% over that same time span across the entire nation, but that Texas saw an 8% jump, meaning that there were 216 infant deaths more than their models predicted. Now, we know how great their COVID models were, so I'm sure these models are just as accurate and reliable, which is to say not at all. But even if they were, listen to this. A driving factor, they say, of the excess deaths are birth defects that babies aren't being aborted for anymore. Essentially, the argument is sick kids should be killed inside the womb instead of being given the dignity to live for however long God intended them to. Remember all the lefties a decade ago when they were trying to normalize homosexuality and how even secular or atheist types were so quick to say, God makes no mistakes? That was literally the slogan of the decade, and Lady Gaga even wrote a gay anthem about it. And while that makes no sense to say about an adult living in sin, as everyone has their own inherent disordered vices they're asked to overcome, no matter how early on in one's life they manifest themselves, but it actually does make a lot of sense about a child conceived with a genetic disorder through no fault of their own, and which is not a sin. God really does make no mistakes. It is our duty to love that person, whether they die of natural causes in the womb or only live for minutes, hours, days, weeks, or even years after birth. Because newsflash, we all die, all of us. And for some of us, that day comes sooner rather than later. That has never been a persuasive argument in favor of murder of any kind. So what do you make of this bizarre study? And it's right up by the Associated Press.
This happens a lot. It happens every couple of years. I don't know if you remember in 2018 when ABC News reported that Iceland was bragging about eradicating Down syndrome babies. And when they asked how they did that, they said abortion. And apparently you can eradicate a lot of things and a lot of people if you just kill them. And that's all this is. What's awkward about this, number one, they don't know what to say in a post-Roe America. That's number one. Not having abortion kills more babies. The second thing is, traditionally, abortion gets a lot of support when the baby is dehumanized in verbiage and an example. That's why you get reproductive rights. That's why you get health care. That's why you get abortion is between a woman and her doctor. They are humanizing the babies here, and they shouldn't do that, because what they're saying is, babies are dying because there's no abortion. And of course, our response, or anybody's response who's kind of in the middle, could say, well, what's wrong with a baby dying? And that's what abortion does. Like they're calling this out as this huge tragedy, and abortion kills a baby. The idea that somehow they're obviously now concerned with a baby dying makes no sense. But look, if you're disabled, if you're a minority, if you are poor, if you are uneducated, if your mom is uneducated, you have a huge chance of being aborted. 90% of babies diagnosed with Downs are aborted. It's the sickest statistic about our society. And so, this is sort of a desperation thing. And when you dig in, it shows what abortion is really good at, which is just eugenics.